Welcome back to our home. Today I'm going to be pouring a small slab, a landing pad, at the bottom of our porch steps, which will be right here. So I have my frame built. It's a simple 2x4 frame. I leveled and compacted some crushed stone underneath it. So now it's a really simple process. I'm just going to mix up the concrete and pour it in, get it smoothed out. Now I'm not going to be using any rebar or mesh. Just wanted to point that out in case it came up in the comments as to why or why not. I just don't feel like I need it. It's such a small slab and it's going to be very thin. And ideally when you put metal in a slab, you want it to be about 2 inches away from the surface of the concrete. And since this slab is so thin, there's not a good place to put it where it will be 2 inches away from the surface. And it's only going to be foot traffic, so I don't think it's going to be prone to breaking. Concrete itself is pretty strong. I wish I had a fibered concrete because fiber would give it a ton of strength, but even regular mix is going to be fine for a little landing slab. So that's why I'm just doing it concrete, because it is strong enough on its own. It's sitting on well-drained crushed stone. It'll have an even base underneath it to support the weight, and it's not going to be prone to breaking. So let's just get into it. I'll get the wheelbarrow and start mixing up some concrete and hopefully get this all smoothed out nice today before the rains come. It probably will start raining later today, maybe not, but at least later this week. So if we can get it done now, we'll be doing good. We have the bus right here full of concrete and pretty basic setup. We're going to be mixing by hand. After pouring the slab and smoothing it off, we let it set up, attempted to finish off the edges, did a little round over on it, smoothed it the best I could. Wasn't the perfect job, but I'm getting better and better at these slabs. I'm happy with how it came out. After that, we pulled the form off and covered it in plastic and just let it cure. So this has been curing for, I don't know, over a week. And it's just been hardening up and getting ready for the next step, but the slab is looking good.
Isn't this gonna be so cool to have a new stairway?
Yeah. You might see these white spots on here. That's just because some of these stones were sitting on here and they leave a white powder. They should all clean off and balance out, but we have a slab. Since the slab is done, we're gonna get ready to install some steps over here. So I had to work on this little corner right here. Some of you guys noticed that we never finished the trim work on that corner. It always stopped short of going down. And that's partially because I didn't know how I wanted to end it, because I didn't know how all of this was going to interact and how we were going to be finishing this area. Now I know, so I went ahead and I cut back the trim that was hanging down, and I cut back the siding, because we're going to be putting a new trim board right here going sideways. And I just got that board ready. I got to dust it off, but it's going to go like this. We're gonna prime this up and make it look beautiful. You know what? I almost forgot something before I prime this. I have to keep track of some marks on here, so I'm gonna put a screw in before I paint over them, which I almost did. I won't lose them as I paint. I'll bring the paint down here. Now this lumber is pressure treated, so it's good for exterior use, but it's very old. It's had time to dry and weather. It's been sitting around for probably a year or two. It's okay to go ahead and paint it right now. But if it was fresh, I really couldn't paint it. I'm just gonna prime everything I can reach.
Today's like a painting day.
So we're gonna skip ahead a little bit, and you guys can see that the board has been painted. Now, I'm taking out these screws, and these screws are just placeholders so that when I painted, I didn't cover up my marks because I had some holes lined up and marked out. And now this is only one coat. It does need a second coat, but I don't feel like getting out the paint and making a mess for a second coat right now. So I'll just hit it again the next time we do painting on our house. That'll be fine. But look at this, looking really good. Blending in over here with the siding. I filled that gap with sealant, siding sealant, so that's all watertight. And now we're going to be getting ready to build our stair risers off of this. And this might seem a little odd the way this looks right now, but that's because we have changes to make on the decking of our porch. So don't worry about this weird ledge right now. That'll make sense later. But for now, let's start the steps. And the steps, you might see a little sneak peek up here. We're going to be using metal stair stringers. I decided to go this route because it just looks better. We're just tired of cutting out these wooden things that always look awkward to us. Our personal opinion, they look awkward. And we thought this would look better with our home. We liked the black. We think it's nice and it's convenient. It's so easy to just buy these on Amazon and it's done. You don't have to think about it. Now, we did have to think a little bit when planning our slab down here. I marked it out on the slab already of where they're going to land. So I lined them up on here, figured out where they're hitting, and we're going to be drilling in. And hopefully, if it all goes smoothly, we'll be using some of these concrete anchors, bolts. Now, I don't have a hammer drill that you would normally use for concrete, but this drill does have a hammer drill function. So I'm going to put it on that. That went easier than I expected.
Yeah.
I don't want it falling back down in the hole. Did you miss it or no?
There wasn't any nail in there.
So the next step is just putting our concrete anchors into these holes. So we're going to tap them in with the hammer and hope for the best. Hope my holes are straight, because I don't know if I was holding my drill straight. But I'm going to be leaving enough out that I can have enough room to anchor my steps and have a little extra room because I have plans to add some shims, which I'll show you later. So now we get to see if we did everything right. And what I'm going to do is set it over the bolt. I'm going to get this bolted in up here. When I set this slab, I did leave it a little low. And what I'm going to be doing is taking some plastic shims. These are composite shims. And I'm going to be placing them right underneath here. And you don't need to do that. The reason I'm doing that is because this is a hair low, but also I feel better about keeping the metal off the concrete. There'll be a break so that this doesn't rust as quickly. It'll keep the water from sitting and pooling under it, and it won't be scratching the coating on the concrete with people walking on it, that little bit of wiggle. So hopefully we can do that. I think I'm gonna just put the shims like this. That looks okay. If anything, hair high. So there it is. Got that bolted onto the house. And I have my little magnetic level on the step just to make sure And right there, the step is dead level, so I feel pretty comfortable tightening down this part. I'm just bolting them into the house here with some small lag bolts. We finished getting them all bolted in, leveled up, now they're solid. There's the beginning of some new steps for our front porch. We're going to be changing this whole layout, and I think this flow is going to make a lot more sense. We just have to cut our steps. That's going to be my next step. There's not going to be too much to see here, but I'll show you that we bought 3 12-foot 2x6s, and that's what we're going to use for our steps. So I'm going to cut these in half, get some 6-foot steps. Then we're going to pretty them up, clean them up, drill the holes for the bolts to go through, and then we're going to finish them so they don't look like green wood. Now I'm going to go through with my router and just round over these little edges on the ends so that they match the front, just so it finishes off. So just a quick project update. I just drilled a bunch of holes in all of these after a meticulous marking out session at the front porch. I had to mark all of these of where they're going to sit. We actually laid them in place on the steps and laid underneath them, marking out the holes for these because it was tricky to try to mark it out any other way. You know, the wood may not be perfectly straight, the metal might not be perfectly welded, so we didn't know how else to do it. Now we're going to sand them down. After sanding them, we're going to get right into finishing the wood. We let them sit for a good amount of time. Now it's time to rub the excess oil off and leave them for the day. Ew, what is it doing? It's not supposed to do that. It's not supposed to do this, Bill. I don't know what's going on with this oil. There's something majorly wrong with this oil. It's not supposed to ball up like this into this gummy residue. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's weird. And now I don't know how to even rub this off properly. And we didn't even let this sit for too long. This usually happens if you leave it in the sun or you have it.
Getting gooey again?
It's worse than gooey. It's just turned into like, look at it when I try to rub it.
What's up with this stuff lately?
I'm going to dip my rag in citrus solvent and use that to wipe it and see if we can make it gloss.
There's no reason why I should do that. The humidity's low.
They're out of the sun.
And we're out of the sun.
Yep. It's really strange.
And it's a beautiful, perfect temperature day.
Mm-hmm. They can still dry like that. Look, this is how it's supposed to be. This is nice.
How come that side is wiping off good?
That's
The underside.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to wipe. Beautiful. So what's wrong with the top?
I have no idea.
How come everything is a disaster? Maybe there's too much UVs coming off the building. Even though they're not in sunlight, maybe it's still getting UV and it's UV curing. Well, that whole ordeal with the boards was really a big disaster, but we made it through it. They're not perfect, but they're going to be good enough for tonight. I'm going to get these installed tonight so that you guys can enjoy the finished project. Even though, realistically, we're going to have to take our time and throw some more oil on those. They are treated, so they're not going to rot. It's pressure-treated lumber. The oil is not going to do anything more to preserve it right now. Mostly, we just wanted to make it look nicer, but also the oil is going to protect the wood from drying out as much. We don't want it cracking like wood does when it dries out. So this wood is dry and cracked. It's not rotting. It's just dry. So we'll see how that oil holds up. Now, if we did everything right, I should be able to bring these over and bolt them right in. We're going to try it, see how it goes. Now, I wish that there was an easier way to do all this. I'm not sure if I'm missing something here. There weren't any instructions, but it was really difficult to get these holes to line up with these. And I don't know how you would screw screws in from the bottom here because of this bar. These are cool, but they're a little bit awkward to use, so maybe I missed a trick that would have made this easier. But I just hope this works. I hope all these holes line up. And I'm going to be using carriage bolts, black carriage bolts to go down through. And I hope I don't regret it.
I would say just do it exactly like that.
Old and it just spins.
Spinning.
And the wood is all dried out and there's no grip.
Yep. That's good.
Okay. So far, so good. Now, I'm not leaving much of a gap between these because I still feel like they're a little bit fat. They're going to shrink and they will be fine. Well, I'm going to keep going. It looks like it's working good so far. Maybe I'll bring both over.
That's 4 and 3, right?
Yep. So now we're going to work our way across this step. And once we get all these tightened up, we'll be right back. There we go. Well, let me see what's going wrong. So what are they doing? Do you know?
They all look slanted.
For some reason, this front row of bolts are all wrong, but the holes are okay. I just have to angle the drill bit down.
Yeah.
And get them to where they should be.
The bottom part of the hole, mainly.
Yeah. I think what I did was, now that I'm looking at it, is that I must have measured these out wrong and just they're too far apart. Get that sawdust off there so you guys can see it. I know it's getting late. It's not getting that late. It's winter time. You know how it is. So we're running out of light, but we got our work done. And now you guys can see our new front steps. You can see our new front slab, which we need to sweep. Where is it? Oh. Look at that. So that's our front landing. And now you probably think that we're going to be fighting these little rocks on our slab all the time, and that could be true, but it's worth it to us for the effect that we're going for here. But it mostly gets covered with these little stones because we do a lot of tracking back and forth through here, especially before these steps were on. Once we start using this as a regular walkway, I think it'll stay cleaner. So no problem. This whole thing is turning out great. This whole front pad, this patio landing area with the stone, fantastic. I love the way it looks up here now. And we're gonna keep decorating. We want to get some giant flower pots for the front and some fun decorations to poke in here. And you'll see that as we do it. But for now, made it to a milestone getting these on, and I'm happy with how they came out actually. They look better than I thought they were going to be for a minute there. And that means that pretty soon we'll be able to get rid of these old rotten steps that we've been walking on. You can see they're just decaying. I could just pull them apart. This was not treated lumber. It was an experiment that we did. And this was untreated lumber that we put a wood treatment on, but it wasn't a great treatment. And one of the biggest issues, it was this roof drips daily because not only rain, but we have condensation in the morning. Our climate means every morning this roof is dripping water down like you'd think it's raining out, just from the dew condensation on the metal roof. And so every single day that step is being dripped on, and it's wet every day. And it wasn't able to keep up with that kind of moisture on it constantly. So that's one of the reasons we moved the steps to this end. We didn't like the flow, the traffic flow over here so much, and the roof always dripping every day. So over here, we don't have a roof drip on the end, and those steps are treated so they shouldn't rot. We went with 2x6s instead of 2x12s because the 2x12s were cupping too much. These should lay flatter. And it's going to be easier for us to flow from our car to the house without getting dripped on. Everything's just better. It's looking so good. So we'll rip those out. The pad, we can keep that pad. Do you guys have any ideas what we can use that for? I don't know, but we'll leave that. We're going to be redoing the whole porch and putting railings up and everything. It's going to look really beautiful. So we'll work on that coming up soon when we get to it. But for now, porch done, steps done, and it's looking good. You guys will see it again in the daylight sometime. That's all we have for now, so thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.